Hi everyone, welcome to Relatively Refined. My name is Patty. Today is a hot summer day and we are embracing it. We're going to play with flowers from my garden and use a brand new to me thrifted vase. I'm going to show you a few things in my kitchen that I am loving. And finally, we are going to take a field trip to the glorious Ethan Allen Homestead in Burlington, Vermont, where we can explore community gardens, savor Fanny Allen's kitchen garden, and explore this historic and beautiful property. Hi everyone, I just came in from outside. You can probably see through the doors that it is a sunny and hot day, and thus you have this issue. I apologize, my hair is up. It is frizzy. I have a lot of hair. I have thick hair, so much so that it actually hurts sometimes to put in a ponytail. But if any of this thick hair is on the back of my neck in this heat and humidity, it's insufferable. And I don't have air conditioning in my home, and it's been a solid high 80s, low 90s for days. So it's warm in here. I'm doing the best I can to keep this humidity and hair under control, but I'm probably losing the battle. So I apologize for that. I wanted to show you, one of the projects I want to get done today is I need to refresh this bouquet. It has certainly seen better days. Look at my poor gladiolas. So I am going to replace some of these items. I'm going to trim up some of them on a heavy angle. I'm going to add fresh water and food, and they're going to go into this. If you follow us on Instagram, and I hope you do, you probably saw my latest thrift store score, which is this incredibly gorgeous Waterford crystal vase. How beautiful is that? This is about 12 inches tall and it is extremely heavy. Has this gorgeous round heavy base, this beautiful celebration bow all the way around, scalloped edges, which I love for vases because the flowers can rest there. It's just also a lovely detail. And the signature, absolutely glorious Waterford crystal, the way it glistens with the crosshatch. I mean, it's just beautiful. This was just coming out on the shelf when I went in. I wasn't going to go into the thrift store. I had some stuff to drop off. Again, it was 90 degrees. I was like, oh, I don't know if I can go in. Drop the stuff off. And I was like, well, you're here, Patty. Go take a look. So I went in and this was just being put out. $3. $3 for this Waterford crystal vase. So immediately I thought my gladiolas are going to be so pretty in there. And so that's what I'm doing today. I'm going to refresh this bouquet, put it in this beautiful Waterford crystal vase, and I'll show you what it looks like when I get it all buffed up and looking beautiful. That is my project for today. And the other thing I'm going to do today is I'm going to make a tomato salad. Behind me, I know the lighting's going to stink here, but behind me you can see I have some tomatoes that are from the garden. I am picking several a day, and I'm going to make a tomato salad. I did a video last year about this time, and I made a tomato salad. I will link it here or here for you to enjoy. It's a super simple. It's really tomatoes, herbs, olive oil, salt and pepper, and I think a little balsamic. Is so good. And lots of herbs and mostly basil. And it's so good on a nice crusty bread, or you could use it kind of like a salsa. It's super good on pasta, or the way I like to enjoy it is just in a bowl with some cottage cheese. It is so good. And the longer it marinates or macerates in the salt, it just releases the juices. It's so good. So that is going to happen today. But I want to take you over there to show you something I'm really loving besides the tomatoes that I just wanted to share with you. So I'm going to turn the camera around. All right, so here are my beautiful tomatoes. in all their imperfect glory. Some very wilted basil. I need to pick some fresh. It is just so hot. And what I'm really loving is this, I'll take these off, is this drying rack. I mean, we all need more counter space. And these little racks, I got this one at TJ Maxx, but Amazon sells them. I will actually link them in the description box so you can take a look on Amazon. But again, I got this at TJ Maxx. They come in different sizes, and this just fits over a portion of my sink, and I can put my dishes here to dry. And by the way, there's my chinoiserie ginger jar washcloth or a dishcloth, which I'm loving. Anyway, this, I have a 2/3, 1/3 sink, which is my preference. So this goes over the 1/3 part, but if you have just one big sink, I think this is an even better idea because you can create a little bit of separation and dry your dishes in part of it. It also works great as I'm using it as a vegetable drying. I just washed my, I guess tomatoes are technically fruit. I just washed them, and so they are, that poor one, they are just here drying on the rack. It does work great for produce as well. Oh, and I was going to show you, sorry, and take these back off because I didn't show you. This is the best part about this is it rolls up just like this, like that. And then I stash it right in here. And there it is. And then when you need it, you just pull it out, bring it over to your sink, and voila, there it is. Back to being a drying rack for my garden vegetables or fruit or produce in general. And there you have it. So I am absolutely loving this. It's a great space saving item. You can see if I back up how much more counter space I have with that on there versus a dish drying rack or even what I typically use, which is a drying mat. So there you go. I find working with flowers so relaxing and satisfying. And I'm just adding some sugar to some warm water and filling my beautiful new vase. These limelight hydrangea are actually dried, and I start putting them in here and then realize that I need to actually preserve them and put them in a different vase. So you'll see what I did with them at the end. And when I went out to the garden to pick some zinnias, I did find this great little cucumber and just had to share it with you. And here is the bouquet. It is a work in progress for sure, but the star of the show is this gorgeous gladiola, which is about to pop. I need some more tall flowers for this vase, but I am pretty happy with how that looks. Look at this. Isn't that stunning? So I'm just going to clean the pollen and the scraps of flowers. I love it. I cannot wait for the colors to come through on this. There they are. Gorgeous pink. Oh, I love it. So this nice little refresh. I'm going to go pick a few more flowers to put in it, but I just wanted to give you a peek at how I brought those to life. I don't know that I'm going to leave this lone hydrangea. I ended up putting them in a different vessel, and so that one is probably going to get swapped out, but pretty pretty. I also did take a few minutes to put the limelight hydrangeas that were dried in this lovely chinoiserie vase. Let's go ahead and hop in the car and take a little field trip to the Ethan Allen Homestead for some gardening inspiration. Ethan Allen was a large contributor to the early history of Vermont, even before it was an official state.
Ethan Allen is quite a folk legend here in Vermont, and even though he was born in Connecticut, he was an early inhabitant of Burlington, Vermont.
All right, we are here at the Ethan Allen Homestead and Community Gardens, and I'm going to take you around to show you the community gardens. I'm looking for some inspiration, some different ways that people stake their plants, stake their plants. Looking for some different vegetables and how they are planted. And I always get lots of ideas and inspiration when I come here. In addition, there are beautiful hiking trails along the river, which are lovely. And there is the homestead itself and Fanny Allen's gardens, which I'm really excited to share with you. So in addition, there are bike paths, which obviously we won't be exploring today, but there are bike paths, there is river and canoe access, and all kinds of fun things. So let's get in here and go explore.
There is certainly a lot to see on this property, but I thought I would start our tour with the Intervale Community Gardens here at the Ethan Allen Homestead. I had to start here with this adorable sign, "Kindness Planted Here." I love this. So this property is built on an intervale, so it is on the banks of the Winooski River in Burlington, Vermont. So it is very fertile here, and as you can see, it is absolutely a perfect place for a community garden. And each plot is rented by individuals or groups, and it is theirs to use and plant whatever they would like. And I love to stroll along here because some people are so creative and really have great ideas for how to plant and grow vegetables and flowers, etc. I stopped for a minute here to look at the tomatoes to see how they were staked up, since mine are falling over. And I loved the use of the additional stakes on the outside of the tomato cage. I have used the method where a stake goes down the middle, like along the stalk of the tomato plant, and then the cage is around that. But here they've got stakes on the outside, like 3 of them attached to the cage for additional support. They've also used, in some cases, here you can see they've used branches. And then on the inside of the tomato cage, they put newspaper as maybe a mulch in there. They've got newspaper, even some leaves and scraps. So I thought that was a really interesting way. I know that tomatoes like to have their feet wet, if you will. So the base likes to be moist. So I'm wondering if this newspaper is sort of acting like mulch, keeping in the water. I also loved to see this gorgeous watermelon just out there. I think it was the only one in this patch. So beautiful. And then my attention was turned to these beautiful flowers. And this was my very favorite. This dahlia with this apricot color was a showstopper. It took my breath away, and I had to sit here for a minute and just admire it. Beautiful. I mean, it is so gorgeous here. I could have spent the entire day. There was nobody else there but me. I want to try and grow dahlias. And so you can see they have a water source here. There are hoses and various water stations throughout the Winooski Community Gardens, so that makes watering super easy. And it has been alternately extremely dry and extremely wet here. I know that doesn't make sense, but we go long stretches without rain and then we have a deluge. So it's been a different kind of summer, and my gardens are thriving. And it looks as though the gardens here are as well. You can see there is corn. I remember when I was in college, I had a friend's dad said, "You're from Vermont, you must know all about corn. How many ears of corn are on each stalk?" And I sort of sheepishly replied, 4, 5? I had no idea. There's only one actual corn on a stalk, one ear of corn on a stalk. So I guess I learned from that. And there's another pumpkin in there, such a sign of the end of summer. This overview gives you an idea of just how expansive these community gardens are. And I have no idea how large the individual plots are. I would imagine they vary, but it is just incredible. It was so good for the soul to just wander along and look and see what people are growing. The paths were mowed down, so there wasn't a lot of insect activity. There was also these nice stone paths throughout, and it was good to see what's really taking off. Beautiful asparagus back there that is gone. Just absolutely every possible vegetable you could imagine. Lots and lots of kale were growing in this garden. You can see some of these are collectives owned by groups of folks and tended by several. I love to see this teepee design for pole beans or different things, but I didn't see anything growing, so they are either past or they never really took off. I also did not notice a lot of evidence of animal activity, which was interesting to see. And then I did notice some tall raised beds toward the, I think what would be maybe the west side of the property, toward the entrance. And then a few more areas in the back where there is room for expansion. And I'm just going to turn now to show you what it looks like from the entrance looking up. As far as the eye can see, there are gardens. I left here feeling inspired. I have some ideas. I definitely want to try dahlias, and I'm sure going to try that tomato staking strategy. We will head back up toward the homestead. It is such a beautiful property and so much diversity, so many things to do. There is even a museum on site. And I did not go in it because it was very close to closing. I think it was 15 minutes before it closed. So it is open when I took this footage, but by the time I got back from the community garden, it had closed. And I did start to tell you a little bit about Ethan Allen, but he is kind of a legend here in Vermont. And he was a farmer, a philosopher, a politician, and a bit of a Revolutionary War hero as the leader of the Green Mountain Boys. And he kind of encapsulates the independent spirit of Vermont. So we do honor and celebrate him and his second wife, Fanny, or Frances Allen. Fanny Allen and Ethan lived at this homestead with their collective, I think, 7 children. I think they had 3 together, and Ethan had 4 from a previous marriage. There are hiking trails, all kinds of woods to explore, and of course it is an intervale, so it does sit along the Winooski River. There are river walks. There is a boat launch for canoes and kayaks. There are just a myriad of things to do. There's a picnic shelter. So I wanted to show you the kitchen garden. And the kitchen garden celebrates Miss Fanny Allen, who is the second wife of Ethan Allen. Fanny and Ethan resided at this farm in the late 1780s. Fanny is known historically as a botanist. She was not only an avid gardener, but she loved to study and label and research the various species of plants that she grew on this property. Eventually, she and her youngest daughter collected, I believe, 90 species of plants and labeled them and cataloged them. And they are now the property of the University of Vermont. And you can see from the sign that botany was one of her favorite amusements. And this explains a little bit better how her youngest daughter, Adelia Penniman, collected all these species of plants, and they are now the property of the University of Vermont in their herbarium. And I thought it was interesting to note that the labels that have stars are actually part of that collection. So each of these signs that contains a star represents one of the documented plants in the collection that was donated to the University of Vermont. And here's an example of something that would have been in her collection. Solomon's seal treats swelling and skin conditions. And here's one that should be recognizable, rhubarb. Edible stalks make jam. That reminds me, growing up, we had a huge rhubarb plant near our garage, and my mom would make the best rhubarb pie. It is to this day one of my son's favorites, and with a birthday in early June, he gets it for his birthday each year. And here's an overview of Fanny's kitchen garden. This is my favorite part of the Ethan Allen Homestead. I like to envision Fanny Allen coming out here and tending to her gardens with her children and cataloging and researching the various plants on the property. There are also all kinds of little paths that meander along the river. There is excellent bird watching, and I did see several types of birds on my walk. It was absolutely beautiful, so lush and fertile. As I mentioned before, there is river access and trails here, and as I just mentioned, there is great birding to be done. I did venture down this little path for a ways toward the river, but as you'll hear me say later, the mosquitoes were really, really bad. So I'm just going to give you one last overview of this gorgeous property before I head back to the car.
Okay guys, that was so beautiful and interesting. I am sorry I had to cut some of the trails short that went along the river because the bugs were unbelievable. The mosquitoes were swarming me to the point where I couldn't film any of it. And usually I'm pretty much armed with bug spray, but not today. So I did have to cut it short. It is about 90 degrees and humid, and just those bugs are ready for attack, and I was an easy target in there today. So I hope you enjoyed seeing the beautiful gardens, and maybe you got some ideas. And also I loved going to Fanny Allen's gardens and seeing the little stars and which ones she and her daughter labeled, and just so much fun. It's such a beautiful property in here with so much history, and it's so lush along the Winooski River. This is farmland. You can see why early settlers wanted to settle here along the banks of the river. Absolutely gorgeous, fertile farmland. Absolutely beautiful in here. So thank you so much for coming with me on this adventure.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I enjoyed sharing my beautiful Waterford crystal vase with you. And thank you for joining me while I refreshed my flower arrangements and got to show you a few things around the house. And most importantly, thank you for coming with me today to the Ethan Allen Homestead. I hope you learned something. I hope you got some inspiration. And if you did, would you please give this video a big thumbs up? Be sure you are subscribed to our channel and hit that notification bell so you'll be alerted whenever a new video is uploaded. And if you'd like a few more videos to get you through until the next one, here are a few that you might enjoy. All right, everyone, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye now.